Hello. Okay, so as everybody knows, COVID uprooted a lot of normal daily life. And one of the chief things among those is how people shopped. So while a lot of industries saw some dips and drags, e-commerce actually boomed and really thrived and found a path for itself during the last couple of years. So what I'm really excited to talk to our three panelists about today is how they navigated those waters and found their niche in these spaces during COVID, and then also just entering the e-commerce space. So we'll start off with just some introductions. Sarah, do you want to go first? Introduce yourself and where you're from?
Sure. Yeah. So my name's Sarah Schaill Calderoso. I work for Airflow Healthcare, which is a durable medical device company. E-commerce, durable medical device. It's a real mouthful. And I'm the senior program manager there.
My name is Clay Weldon, and thank you for having me. I'm from OME Gear Company. We are an outdoor company, and we came up with this really innovative product. It's this outdoor cart that transforms into 5 different products, and really well made. And yeah, and actually the founders are presenting tomorrow at the Wild Pitch, which is pretty fun. So happens to be my sister, and so it's pretty fun. So if you want to check that out, thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Andrew Green. I'm the co-founder and chief creative officer of 12 South. 12 South makes accessories primarily for Apple products, everything from stands for MacBooks to Bluetooth adapters for AirFly to a case called the BookBook, which was actually the first mobile wallet in the world. We're sold on our website, of course, but also in Amazon globally and Apple stores around the world. Glad to be here.
Cool. So Andrew, if you don't mind kicking us off, sharing a little bit about your brand story and evolution into e-commerce.
Sure. Well, I mean, what we do is e-commerce based because we are making accessories and toys and ways to work better with the gear that you already have, primarily in technology, of course. So we launched with a website, and then we also launched our business into wholesale and wholesale business like Apple stores, like Amazon, always coincided with our e-commerce platform. I would say for 12 South that because we were represented globally in wholesale and other stores and other brands, our website was for product information first, for brand building second, and then the e-commerce has been a solid third, even though our 12south.com space is our #2 revenue generator. So we're #2, 12south.com.
That's awesome. Clay, I kind of want to hear from you next. Was e-commerce already part of your brand strategy there in the beginning, or is that new to you?
Yes, it was. We started off 100% direct to consumer. The company started in 2018, and we actually launched on Kickstarter, which is obviously online, and we had a successful Kickstarter, which was super fun. And from there, we've just been growing. We're at this point, we're in some retail. We're just getting picked up from retail brands, but most of what we do is direct to consumer.
Cool. And then Sarah, what about Airflow's journey into e-commerce?
Sure. Yeah. So Airflow started in 2001 with no eye towards technology or e-commerce. So they've had an extremely unlikely journey to becoming one of the tech giants in the healthcare field. In 2017, they saw technology start to catch up with their patients' needs. So in the durable medical device industry, we're talking about CPAP machines, we're talking about breast pumps, we're talking about urology supplies, wheelchairs, all that stuff. So for many, many years, their main focus was customer service and getting these devices to people who needed them in the best way. It wasn't until 2017 that technology caught up to the point where we could leverage e-commerce to make that goal happen. So it was really, 20 years of running a company with no concept of e-commerce, technology being like so far in the backseat. So Airflow had a kind of incredible journey, an unlikely journey in that way, into becoming kind of a massive e-commerce organization.
Cool. So I think this is so cool that we have Clay here who started out e-commerce, Andrew who had that as like a tertiary goal of the website, and then Aeroflow that just entered it in the past few years, and how everyone kind of started that journey differently. So Sarah, I do have a question for you about that move into e-commerce. Did you find that your consumers were really trying to see their previous experience reflected on the e-commerce site?
Yeah, 100%. And that previous experience was the in doctor office experience. So you go to your doctor's like, you need this thing. Then you probably go to some other specialist and they fit you for the thing. And there's like all of these professionals involved. And so like the biggest challenge with replicating that experience online is trust, right? Because you're talking about your health. You're talking about something that your doctor said you needed, and a website's going to give that to you. So, that is like the number one challenge that we work through every day, every week, is trust and user experience.
How did you find a way to get past that?
Sure. Yeah. So we leverage an incredible amount of user testing. So we have in-house designers, in-house UX team members who, like, at some point, it's just kind of spaghetti on the wall. We know best practices. We know what works for other industries, right? We know how we like to shop, but you've never bought a CPAP through a website before, figured out how it's going to fit you, or a breast pump, and how that's going to work for you. So lots of spaghetti on the wall, lots of A/B testing, and then lots of monitoring our data. And of course, we still have a very robust customer service department, and we listen to them. So, those voices that are on the other side of the phone, especially for our older patients, for our incontinence divisions, we listen to what those patients are saying to their customer service rep, and then we're working that into the website as much as we can.
Awesome. Clay, are there any changes you've seen in your consumer shopping habits since COVID, being a company that has always sold online? Did you notice any shifts during that period?
Yeah, we haven't really for us, except that a lot more people got outdoors, which was a cool thing, so that was good for us too. And people weren't shopping in store. So obviously our visitors went up a ton. So a lot of the brand things that we did, people had so much more time to look for this stuff. So as long as we're visible, they would find us. But man, it is a constant evolution. I think even now afterward, people are still trying to figure out, people want to get outside, and so it's just figuring out like what works best. How can we get in front of our clients in a way that makes sense? Where are they right now? Like as far as just with like their safety and all this stuff, and just really working through it and trying our best to understand the customer, which probably we will be doing until the business ends or gets bought out or whatever.
Yeah. So you said something that I found kind of interesting, and I want to make sure I understood you correctly. Did you find that people were spending more time like researching the brand before purchasing when they were online shopping?
Well, with our product, 100%, because it's a good and bad problem. It's an incredibly innovative product. There's nothing out there like that that we found. So if you find it, we want to know our competition, but there's nothing out there like that, which is the problem of that requires so much education. And so for us, that's where we spend a lot of our time, is just educating people why they even would want this or need this for a family or whatever. So yes, they are. We found them to be online a lot more because we started in 2018, which obviously was before then, but not much. So we haven't had a ton of research. Like the more as we progress and the more we're online, the more data we're able to kind of gather through running Facebook ads, through our email, through social, and honestly, through talking with our customers. I know when we first started off, we would, the founders and our team would call every customer and find out, why did you buy? What prompted you to? At what point did you buy? So getting that information, honestly, from the people that buy from us is the best. So.
Cool. Andrew, what has been the most effective strategy that you found that you think led to the website becoming your number 2 generating source of revenue?
Well, specifically going into March 2020, our number 1 product was a travel-based product, and it was killing. And we actually had just placed the largest POs in the history of the company, and they hadn't even arrived going into March 2020. So that happened. Another thing that happened was that we were ordering additional inventory in advance of Chinese New Year, when you have like big hiccups in your inventory being made overseas and in Asia. What our website was able to do for us when all of the retail stores that we were sold in shut completely down is that we were able to pivot our message and our leading product to work from home. As it turns out, the core base of our product was taking a laptop and making it more comfortable to work from home.
Mhm.
So what our website was able to do was allow us to pivot. A store that's a brick and mortar store can't pivot. Best Buy is going to sell what Best Buy is going to sell,
Mhm.
but your website can. It can turn on a dime and become what your customer needs at that moment. February 2020, we were a travel leading accessory company. April 1st, we were a work from home. Here's the accessories you need to be working comfortably on your laptop instantly. So it was a massive pivot that was made possible because of the visibility and the success of 12south.com, our website.
That's perfect. Do you find that now that COVID's kind of moving into the background of people's minds a little bit, that you're moving back towards that model of marketing yourself as a travel brand?
Certainly back to a blend for sure. But it was really fun to kind of play in that channel and then bring back when we reordered the product that we had over ordered right before March. That was like a watershed moment. I couldn't believe it. And now we're actually tied in that. So yes, so the travel product is roaring back right now. And we still have this wonderful base of stands that they're selling again amazingly at Apple stores globally. So both and we'll take it, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I feel like it's always really good to have multiple ways that you can position your brand, and maybe a little like silver lining that you got out of COVID. So I just realized I never actually introduced myself. My name's Sarah Crowley. I'm a program manager at Trellis. We're a agency that builds e-commerce based websites. So I've seen variations of all of the things that these people up here are talking about based on different projects. But at Trellis, we see clients face all sorts of different challenges when they move into the e-commerce world, whether that's how they're starting their brand or something they're adding on. So Clay, I'd like you to start first on this one. When you first were building that e-commerce presence as the brand was coming up, how did OME Gear, or like, what were some of the struggles that OME Gear found, and how did they get past that?
The struggles that we're still having, or building a brand is really hard. It's really hard. And I don't know where you guys are in your business, whether you're an entrepreneur or you're marketing or you're involved in corporate or tech, but building a brand from scratch it's no joke, and it's not for the faint of heart. And anybody that tells you different, there's very small people that start a business and they just go crazy. And that is just not the case for like 99% of people. It is hard work. And so, so the struggle probably for us was that we just didn't have any data. We had a thought that we had a really good idea, but we just didn't have like confirmation and validation. So just like any other business, we started a Shopify website. Right. So for us, the Kickstarter was really important. But for us, the biggest struggle was just like defining our audience. That was the biggest thing for us. And so we're still defining our audience. We're still getting these like light bulb things that like, actually, who's going to buy a product? Is it going to be ladies? Is it going to be guys? And that is like an ongoing thing. And we've kind of defined the age group and the income and that kind of stuff. But depending on what website you're on, like we're on Huckberry, and that's mostly dudes, and it's selling really well on there, but we know there's an audience for ladies as well. So defining our audience using any type of data. And so we do that through running ads and building custom audiences and finding out what's working there. That's a lot of money. So for a new brand, that's really hard, but also through your email list, that's a really important one as well. And then honestly, talking to our customers is really helps. The more customers we get, the more information that we can to create we're finding some trends as far as what we're seeing that our customers are liking and that they're wanting, and then we kind of move from there. So Biggest struggle is defining the audience, and how we've overcome that is, honestly, it's been time, just time, being patient and just letting people purchase the product and then getting feedback. So.
Cool, thank you. Sarah, I know you talked about the struggle of migrating the shopping experience into an online platform. Were there any other like technical challenges or anything that you found unrelated to that?
Yeah, actually, Clay kind of reminded me. So we had the opposite problem, right? We know our audience because you've got a prescription for this thing. You just don't know where to get it, how to get the right size, all that stuff. So we were blessed in that we knew our audience. What our biggest struggle was getting them to jump through all the hoops that you need to jump through to actually purchase this thing online. So you got to put in your insurance. You got to have your insurance card. Do you know what the number of your group is on your insurance card? Of course, you don't know that off the top of your head. So you got to go to your wallet. You got to get it out and you got to type it in. And then you got to get your doctor's name. Do you know that? Well, what's the address of your doctor? So all of this information that we have to draw out of our customers is our number one biggest challenge, and understanding what their attention span is going to be. So our mom and baby customers who are purchasing breast pumps and compression garments, they have a lot more experience with the internet and purchasing things on the internet. So they have a lot more patience for it. But our older customers who are purchasing incontinence supplies, they just like give up like yesterday, So it was about observing our different, we call them patient groups as opposed to user groups, observing our different patient groups and understanding what their tolerance was for what we were trying to get them to do.
Cool. And same question for you, Andrew. The biggest struggle that you found migrating into this e-commerce world or ramping up in it? I know you had a struggle.
We do.
No problems there.
You can also have more than one struggle.
It's all a struggle, right? And in the startup struggle, totally different than today's struggle, which is like logistics and madness in the global e-commerce space. I think our biggest struggle that we're working with, challenge, not struggle, is continuing to work outside of our club and find those tertiary customers that are not our core customer base, but still we can add value to their space and their world. And so we've got our party, right? And so we really want to find those rings of customers that would enjoy what we do and what we create beyond that. As the previous session alluded to, what is effective in advertising at this point, how to meet new customers and bring them into the fold. So you can't just throw the net in the water all the time, right? And find the fish. You definitely have to sometimes kind of go to where they are and tell your story to new audiences, new customers that have a completely different set of values and needs than your core business, but they still relate to what you do and you can help them in their workspace. So the continuing struggles with e-commerce for 12 South is to grow beyond the core base and find the secondary and tertiary rings that you can add value to.
Do you have any strategies you found that have worked well in finding those diversified groups?
Why did I get all the hard questions?
That's what I'm here for.
Well, I'll tell you, that's where the blend between the retail wholesale business and our .com, we're not just .com. So we also, our website is shopped by Amazon customers, right? So remember that the second thing our website does is basically product information.
Sure.
And so because we're not exclusive e-commerce only, we know that customers will come to learn about our products that are going to buy them in many other places. And so we kind of challenge the balance between really going for the throat from an e-commerce perspective to to grab the sale, and being informative and understanding and available informationally to our customers that will then step into an Apple store or on Amazon to complete their purchase as well. And so that's a balance that we look to solve on a daily basis. Did that answer your question?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
kind of. Sorry, Susan. Sarah, do you have any tips for brands looking to enter the e-commerce space for the first time?
Yeah, so I have a similar background to Sarah in that before I joined Aeroflow, I was in the consulting space and worked with a lot of different brands. So I saw startups, built websites for startups, built websites for organizations that this was their 5th or 6th website on a new platform. And the common thread, I think, is organizations that are successful come to e-commerce already having a really good understanding of their brand, of their product, of their space, of their industry, and ideally of their audience. If you know that and then embark on an e-commerce project, you're set up for success. If you are really weak in any one of those elements, it's going to be a lot harder.
So because we both have agency background, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on what you think the number one thing is that you see brands doing wrong when it comes to embarking on that e-commerce journey. Like, what's the biggest factor in a failure?
Oh boy.
I know, sorry to pick just one.
No. I think one of the first one that comes to mind is not having a strong brand and then being like, we got to build an e-commerce website today, you know, and if you don't know who you are and you don't already have all of those base elements of your branding, then you're jumping the gun. You know, you really need to have a brand story. You need to understand your organization from a foundational level before you jump in.
Yep. Yeah, I'd agree with that too. So same question for Clay. Do you have any, sorry, I guess I need to go back to what the original question was because we went on a tangent, but do you have any tips for people entering the e-commerce space?
Yeah, I think it depends on what type of company you are for sure. But I think of this, there's like a quick story on my way home. We live in Mount Pleasant and there's this guy out that he has a pickup truck mostly during the winter. I haven't seen him for a while, but he sells firewood and he just has a pickup truck out there, no sign or nothing. And every time I never see somebody stop. He's been out there forever. I'm like, dude, if you just put a sign up and just like made it easy for people, had bundles or whatever, like you would sell all of this, you know? So for me, for a brand, sometimes the first thing is just getting a presence, you know, because it seems very overwhelming because you feel like, okay, I'm going to be e-commerce. I got to do all the social, like it's going to involve so much work. I'm already doing so much as it is. And I'm thinking more of the small business owner. But that's the best place is just start. You know, it's just start somewhere and getting your brand out there. And then when you want to like start promoting yourself is don't think I got to do everything. I got to be on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all of this stuff. It's like pick one where you have a good idea of where your audience is and focus in hard on that. And give it a good run before you be like, all right, this is not working. You know, like he said, it was like at least 3 months, if not to a year to make sure that you kind of know what you're doing. So that's what I would say. And then for someone that doesn't have a great brand and does a really great story, just get a really good marketing company.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding. Like you can get for a product that is pretty good, that, I mean, it could be better. Yes, we're always improving, but get a really good marketing company because a really good marketing company will outsell a really good brand that doesn't have a presence all day long.
That's great advice. And Andrew, any tips for new people to the e-commerce space?
Have the right product that has a story built in. A huge influence for me is Seth Godin. And his thing that he just goes over and over about is that your product needs to be remarkable. And the remarkable that people will talk about it and remark about it. And so he said, before you allocate all of this money for advertising, put it back into like product development to where your product has a built-in story that people will want to talk about. And if it doesn't, keep working on it. So it doesn't matter how pretty your pictures are or how well your site works if your product isn't remarkable. So at the end of the day, it is your service or product that is going to do most of the work for you. And if that's not right, none of the rest matters. So my advice for the e-commerce site is to make sure the product that is on that e-commerce site is worthy of a person's time and is a remarkable entry into that category.
Love that. So we have just a couple minutes left. Did anyone have any questions for our panelists? No? Okay. So then with our last couple, oh, so I'm so sorry. I didn't see you, sir. Yeah. Did you hear that?
For me? So our direct e-commerce is around 20%. Online, we have stores like Amazon, which is another large percent. And so the three categories, more or less, is our direct relationship, our e-commerce partners like Amazon, and our brick and mortar stores that are still out there, which in different parts of the world is completely different. It's still relevant in Australia, for example. There's very good like actual brick and mortar retail stores there. But so 12souths.com is around 15-20% of our revenue.
Awesome.
The Apple Store? It's rough. We're lucky. I came from two companies previously, Griffin Technology, that helped open the Apple Store. And so we had the relationships. It's a very tight velvet rope there, and they're pretty picky. And honestly, we're out of our weight class because of what? Because we have a remarkable product, right? So we make stands that no one else made. We dedicated ourselves to Apple's brand, which no one else did. And so we were speaking to them so direct that we had a relationship with them already. They're actually customers as well, right? So it goes back to the product, I think, my friend, and that is that it has to be remarkable because most everything else is me too. And so if you have something unique that speaks to a category, all the store wants to do is to put in front of the customers that want it. So Apple Store or any other store, always think of like your end user, the person who saved up their money to buy your service or product, and make sure you're convincing them of that. And everything in between will connect itself, either from your website or the appropriate retail store or any other like channel. The relationship at the end of the day is between you and the user that puts their hard-earned money down for it. And I think if you get that relationship correct, the pathways to that will work itself out a little bit. Does that help? I swear.
So we do have to wrap it up, but I think the panelists will probably hang around for a little bit if anyone has any other questions. So let's give them a round of applause. They did great. And thank you so much for being an awesome audience, and to Dig South for putting this whole thing on.
Thank you, Sarah and Sarah.